Is there anything that you know about Chinese-Indonesians?
Yeah, rich bread. Anti-communism or like anti-Chinese. I think like
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Selly Gouw, your favorite Chindo girl. I want to introduce myself first for you guys that are new here. Welcome, I'm Sally and I used to live in Malaysia, and I talk a lot about culture, about education, and of course other fun stuff on my YouTube channel. And today we're gonna talk about something super exciting. And I'm super curious myself, which is about the perspective of Chinese people on Chinese overseas. Right, super interesting. And there will be two parts of the video. The first part, we're gonna talk about the Chinese-Indonesians, and then the second one, we're gonna talk about Chinese-Malaysians. So stay tuned until the very, very end. And today, we've got here in the house my university friend from China.
Hi everyone, I'm actually like Sally's friend. I'm called Elena. I'm now studying in Australia, but I was taking my undergraduate in Malaysia, which we just met each other in Malaysia.
What class did we take again? I think it was Intro to Mass Comm?
Yeah, we did this campaign, right? Enough said. From the show.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here. So
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, subscribe her, please, because I've just watched some of the videos that promoted, by Sally. It's really interesting.
Thank you so much. Anyway, which part of China are you from?
I'm actually from the kind of like the east side. It's called Shandong province. My city is actually a coastal city, which is like really near to Japan and Korea.
Is there anything that you know about Chinese-Indonesians?
Yeah, rich bread.
Oh, you know him. All right. Okay.
I think he is kind of like the one that I feel like, oh my god, like he's like, from Indonesia. I didn't like realize that before.
Wow, that's good, you guys. Rich Brian is making Indonesia more popular.
Yeah.
But prior to that, right? Like, let's say before you came to Malaysia, did you have any, let's say, Chinese-Indonesian friends perhaps, or do you know anything about Chinese-Indonesians?
Actually, like, no.
Yeah, it's not surprising for us, but do you know the most Chinese overseas outside of China is actually from Indonesia, in Indonesia?
Oh.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, really.
Anyone like Malaysia.
I know. Anyway, is it weird to see that like I'm Chinese? I look super Chinese, right? What do you think?
First impression when I saw you, I can see you're actually like, maybe you're like Malaysian Chinese, but after you just speak a word, I can see, okay, you're not from China.
I see. How? Why? Which part? Like the accent, right?
I think the first will be the accent, and then the second one would be you're much more confident than a lot of like Chinese girl that I met, because when they I'll give an example. If I would like to like take a selfie, I would use, just some of the filters to make me like slim, to be like a Japanese or a Korean girl like that. But I saw you like once we are taking like a photo, and then you're just like smile, just like really confident. I was like, okay, so you're definitely not from China. I can tell that.
Oh, that's interesting. I do know that.
Yeah.
Oh, Chinese people like that kind of filters, huh? Oh, interesting.
I think like, especially like East Asian countries like Japanese, Korean, Chinese girl, they will like to use some filters. So do I. Me too. Yeah.
I didn't know that you can distinguish this kind of thing from that experience.
I can tell that your accent is like totally like not like you have been educated in China. I would like to say that some of the impressions of like Chinese-Indonesians that I've actually like ever thought about, I think in overseas country like Malaysia and Indonesia, I feel like if your accent is more like American accent or like a British accent, I mean it's not like a typical like a East Asian countries that English accent, I can tell that your family could be like a upper second above, I think at least. you have been, just quite being well educated. This is actually also the first impression that I've got when we just met in the campaign. I can see, like your accent is really good. And also when you like speak your perspectives, it's really logic. And I can tell you have definitely been well educated. Feel like 20 years, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, that's such a high compliment coming from you. Thank you. If you want me to stereotype, your English is like so much more like high up there compared to like the rest of the Chinese that I met. Honestly speaking, I'm not like saying, oh, Chinese people don't speak English or something. No, but they have the accent, right? It's like very super thick. I can like tell straight away, oh, this person's from China. But your accent, I can tell you're from China, but it's like I could tell that you're also someone that knows English a lot more compared to like the rest. Am I right?
Thank you.
Did you know that most Chinese-Indonesians don't speak Chinese or like Mandarin well? Did you expect it, let's say when you first met me?
I can tell that yes, because I've actually like learned a little bit like history of Indonesia. I mean, like, because some of the crisis, right? Just after like Suharto or Sukarno, like
Suharto.
So it's about like anti-communism or like anti-Chinese. I think like it's just something like that. So after that, maybe Chinese people, they just don't want their children or just like other just siblings to speak like Mandarin anymore. So that's why I was thinking maybe like our generation, like Chinese-Indonesian, they just seldom like speaking Mandarin. I just can't understand that.
Yep. Oh, actually, is the history famous in your country or it's just you?
I don't think so. I think it's just a limit.
Oh, okay. Okay, you're just more educated. Right. Yeah, but it's very sensitive, you guys, like this kind of topic. So I'm not gonna talk further. If you want to know more info about the 98, like what happened to like the history and something like that, just feel free to Google it. There are like a lot of info, okay, on Google.
Yeah.
Did you know that most of Chinese-Indonesians actually Indonesianize their surnames? Like we do have our Chinese surnames, right? Like the U, like all the Chinese surnames that we have from our like parents, like grandparents, basically from our ancestors, we kind of Indonesianized it to become to sound Indonesian. Like, have you heard about it?
No, I was thinking like because when I was in Malaysia, Malaysian Chinese, they told me that their surname is similar to like just China Chinese one. So I don't realize like Indonesian Chinese, the surname would be a little bit like Indonesianized.
Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of that. In Malaysia, right, their names sometimes would have the English one at the beginning and then Chinese surname and then the Chinese name, right? It's like normal Chinese name, right? So maybe, I don't know, like Lo Keshin or like something, I don't know. It's like, straight away that it's Chinese, right? Just based on the name.
Yeah.
Actually, my surname is Wu. So that translates to my dad's dialect, which is Teochew, and it becomes Gouw. But in Indonesia, a lot of people that has the same surname as I do, which is Gouw, they like to make it like Gunawan.
Oh,
so it's like, let's say Selly Gunawan. Oh, that's not my name, yeah, guys. Yeah, a lot of people, maybe, I don't know, Elena Gunawan. Perhaps this person is Chinese-Indonesian. Is there anything that you're curious about Chinese-Indonesians? Maybe you want to ask me something?
I have to say that, most of the Chinese, like Malaysian Chinese, somehow really talented in, do business. Because we have a saying, especially their Hokkien or Canton, right? Actually, we had a saying, 3分靠注定, 7分靠打拼. Do you know that? You have to like work hard around like 70%, and then the rest of them you just like
it's like up to the universe, right?
Up to the gods, so something like that.
Yeah.
I was actually like viewed a web page which is like the top 10, just billionaire in Malaysia. Most of them are actually like Malaysian Chinese. So I was actually really curious about Indonesian Chinese. Are they like really, just got talent in, just doing business as well?
This is a very long answer, okay? Because there is no certain exact answer to this. But I would say because we hold similar principle, which is like, yeah, we have to work hard. And if we have a dream, like go and get it. But of course, let's say if that doesn't come true, it means that it's like the God destined for you already. But it doesn't mean that you have to just let it be, let it flow. Oh, God already has the plan for you. But yes, you have to work hard as well as a person to make that plan come true. It's something like that. I got that saying also from my parents, although like not from the Mandarin version, but I would say most Chinese also have that kind of principle here. But I can't generalize also, you guys, because there are a lot of like not so well off Chinese as well over here. But it's just, if you ask me, let's say the top 10 people, like the richest people in the country, I would say like there are actually a lot of Chinese over there. Yeah.
I think I've got like the same. Yeah.
And then I think it's also partly because last time we used to be super poor, like most Chinese that came to like, of course, overseas, like they have nothing, right? Basically immigrants, like they have no family, they have nothing, and then they're poor. So I think they hold money very tightly as well. And then they try to think of how to make more money and then to sustain for the family, right? Rather than just like spending it all. Yeah, so I think that's kind of like the principle that they have, I think, in general. You guys, if you have different principle, I mean, now it's the different era already. Like, I think most of the children right now, they have different thinking. So if you have different thinking, it's fine. You know, we all have different thinking, so it's fine. Just comment down below, but please be respectful.
And may I ask that Chinese to Indonesian, so you guys will just like mix with your like Indonesians or like Javanese or like something like it?
Okay, interesting question. Because I think you see this from the perspective of Malaysia, since we both lived in Malaysia before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say based on, because it's based on the individual, right? But since we don't have vernacular school over here, like the Chinese school or like Indian school and stuff like that, we don't have that. So most of the time people just mix together. When it comes to like mingling with the rest, I would say we just mix, because the races here actually are a lot. Not only Javanese, we have like super like a lot, let me tell you. We have Javanese, we have Sundanese, we have Bataknese, we have Manadonese, we have like, because Indonesia is quite big and then super diverse. So, and Chinese just becomes part of the race, you know? Can you imagine? Yep. So that's why, actually, can I say this? Like growing up, I was kind of confused also about myself, like by my own identity, I would say. Because okay, growing up, I know like Chinese, and then we kind of have the tradition also, like let's say we celebrate Chinese New Year, but I was just a little bit confused, like I'm not Chinese but I am, you know? So yeah, I was just confused. And then my parents used to ask me to, they didn't ask, they just enrolled me to like Mandarin courses. And then I was like, Mom, I don't want to do this. It's like Chinese is so hard. Like I have no motivation at the time. Really, I was like, what is it for? I don't use it. I don't speak this to my friends. Why do I have to learn this? Imagine I was in primary school, you know. And then, that's why the basic ones I can understand. I don't know about other Chinese Indonesians, but maybe it was just me. Okay guys, I think that's it for part 1, and then it's quite long already. We're gonna move to part 2 in another video. Okay, see you there. Okay, don't forget to subscribe. See you in part 2.